Alright, so we're back here on the S197 swapped Mustang, and I'm addressing a few things that I wasn't so crazy about. The major thing that I really wasn't happy about is since I have relocated the battery to the back of this car, it's never cranked good. That's probably due to the fact that the battery's not new either, but also the main positive from the back was coming first up to this fuse panel and then going down to the starter of the engine. So basically what I've done is I just went and undid it from the fuse panel. That's why the car is all jacked up here. I went under the car, and now the main positive from the battery is running straight from the battery through the inside of the car, straight into the starter, and then there's this big heavy gauge wire that goes from the starter up to the fuse panel. Hopefully that'll get a couple more cranking amps to the starter, along with replacing the battery in the back with a new one, and we should be turning over fine. The only other thing right now that I was concerned about is this heater core bypass that I have here. If you can see, that hose has split open right there, and I'm worried that's going to start leaking. So I went and ordered a correct one off Amazon. This one has two different size ends because the two ports coming out of there are different sizes. I'm not worried about heat on this car, although you could potentially hook it up. The heater core hookups are just a pain in the butt to get to. They're behind the intake manifold way back there, and I never use heat. We're in Florida, so I don't see any reason to hook it up. So basically we're going to replace that one with this one. Try not to make a big mess of coolant everywhere. As you can see, the two different size hoses on there, openings for that. So we'll switch that out, and then that'll get those things off the list. The next thing after that is going to be to get a hood on it. That should hopefully be happening soon. I got the stock hood. We've just got to heavily clearance it for all of this stuff over here. So that'll be cutting up the stock hood to get it to fit, and then figuring out what we want to do. I really would like to do some kind of ram air intake, custom intake on the hood that feeds air directly into the air filter here, which is behind the turbo because everything's backwards. But that will be later on. So let me get the wires wrapped up here, and then we'll get that heater core hose replaced, and we'll be right back. Alright, so went and got all the wires tidied up here. As you can see, there's only the three coming here. So this is coming from the starter now, the center one. This one goes straight to the post on the alternator, and this one feeds the electric fans because we're running the electric fans through the Chevy PCM now. Based on the temperature of the engine, they come on and off by themselves. So that's that. Charge the battery up. It is still an old battery, but as you can see, it cranks up way better now. So I would say with a fresh battery, gosh, beeping. With a fresh battery, it should crank up no problem. Just like it would in the Chevy truck. So that's that. Just got to get the heater hose switched out, but I will be doing that tomorrow because I am out of time for today. Alright, so we went ahead and got a service done on this. So we got the oil changed. The oil that was in this engine was probably like 4 or 5 years old from the Suburban that this engine came out of still. So we got that changed, new filter, new oil, up to level, verified that the dipstick is reading correctly because that's an aftermarket dipstick. These hold 6 quarts. I put 6.5 in it because it's got some extra oil lines and stuff going over to the turbo. And we went ahead and installed that drive shaft loop you saw in the back. So that is one of the original drive shaft loops out of a GT, but the GT has a 2-piece drive shaft. So there's like a carrier bearing in the center, and it was hitting, so we bent that, got that installed. So now the drive shaft, if either end comes disconnected from the rear end or the transmission, it cannot fall out of the car. It's just a safety thing. And then we also went ahead and I made this little bracket here, which I just showed installing, and that is bolted into the factory coil mount hole on the valve cover. And it's got a piece of rubber on it and a zip tie holding this upper radiator hose on. And the reason for that is, first of all, We got a header right here. There is a good bit of space between them, but we want to keep that away from the heat as much as possible because that would be bad if that melted. The other thing is, it's kind of like cantilevered all the way out here, and it was actually like starting to kink here when it was cooled. When it was cold and there was no pressure, it would actually start to kink here. So basically this holds it up. It can't go down anymore, so it prevents it from kinking or doing anything weird, and also keeps it away from the header. So it's a 2-for-1. Just made a little bracket for that. Simple piece of steel. And that's that. I think that's it for today. Next time we're going to try and get the hood on and get like a skid plate made for the oil pan, because the oil pan does stick below the frame. As you can see there, a couple inches, like 2 inches under the frame. I'm not crazy about that. That is the stock truck LS oil pan on there still. I don't want to take it off. I just want to leave it like that. I'm just going to build a steel, basically a steel bracket on each side that will be like a sacrificial skid plate. I've got some pretty heavy steel brackets here. I'm going to make it unbolt from the frame, but that'll be next time. That and the hood will be next time. Get the hood fit around all the turbo and everything here. But as always, I'd like to thank you guys for watching. It really helps me out. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, so if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate you guys, and I will see you next time.